What if a scientific fact, one that doctors have been relying on for years, was just wrong? Today, we're diving into a fascinating study that challenges a core belief about the vaginal microbiome and what it really means to be healthy for millions of women. So let's start with a big question. When science defines something as normal, is it truly universal? And this isn't just some academic debate, you know? In medicine, how you define healthy changes everything, from the way you're diagnosed to the kind of treatment you might get. For a long time, the idea you see here was widely accepted. It basically said that for many Black and Hispanic women, a vaginal microbiome that wasn't full of a key bacteria called lactobacillus was considered perfectly normal. This wasn't just a theory, it was treated almost like medical gospel. But how did an idea like that even take hold? Let's trace it back to its roots. Well, the whole thing was built on studies of African American women. Researchers saw a pattern in this one group, and then, and this is the key part, they stretched that conclusion to cover all women of Black African origin across the entire globe. This led them to believe that a microbiome low in lactobacillus was just common, even giving it a clinical category, a grade 4 community. And this is what brings us to Nigeria. A team of researchers there decided to challenge this big assumption. They asked a really simple, powerful question. Instead of relying on data from a different continent, what if we just looked at the microbiome of women living in West Africa right now? Okay, before we jump into the results, let's get a quick definition down so we're all on the same page. You can think of it as two different states. In a healthy state, the microbiome is dominated by that one key bacteria, Lactobacillus. But in a condition called bacterial vaginosis, or BV, the whole environment shifts, and a really diverse mix of other bacteria starts to take over. Their approach was super clear. They looked at a group of Nigerian women, some were healthy, and some had been diagnosed with BV. And using some pretty powerful genetic sequencing, they mapped out every single type of bacteria that was present. The goal was simple. Did that old fact about a normal lactobacillus-deficient microbiome actually hold up when you tested it on the ground? So, what did they find? This is the crucial part, because their results didn't just question the old fact. They completely flipped it on its head. I mean, the difference was just night and day. The old assumption, over on the left, claimed a healthy microbiome for Black women was often low in lactobacillus. But what the new study found, on the right, the exact opposite. In the healthy Nigerian women they studied, the microbiome was overwhelmingly dominated by it. And get this number, a staggering 95%. That's the percentage of bacteria in the healthy group that belong to a category called firmicutes. And why does that matter? Because that's the exact group that contains all those beneficial lactobacillus species we've been talking about. This chart makes it crystal clear. Look at the healthy group. That massive purple slice is the firmicutes group, making up 95% of the total. That kind of overwhelming dominance by one group is exactly what you want to see. It's the hallmark of a really stable, healthy microbiome. Now compare that to the group with BV. The picture completely changes. That dominant purple slice shrinks way down, and you see all these other colors, these other bacterial groups just flooding in. It becomes a super diverse mix with no single leader. And that is the classic signature of bacterial vaginosis. But the difference goes even deeper than those big family groups. When the researchers looked at the individual species of bacteria, the explosion in diversity was just staggering. Get this. In the women with BV, the researchers found over 550 unique bacterial species that just weren't even present in the healthy group. And now compare that to the healthy group, where they only found 104 unique species. It paints such a clear picture. In this environment, health means low diversity, while the BV condition is marked by a massive, chaotic explosion of different microbes. Okay, so the data is clear, but why does this all actually matter? What are the real-world implications? Well, think about it. If a doctor believes a diverse microbiome is normal for a patient, they might misdiagnose or completely miss a case of bacterial vaginosis that really needs treatment. This study changes that fundamental understanding. The researchers knew exactly how important their findings were, and they did not mince words when they wrote their conclusion. Their conclusion was a direct refutation of that old assumption. They wrote, and I'm quoting here, "Non-BV healthy Black African Nigerian women had Lactobacillus genera as the predominant microbiota, contrary to published reports. It's a clear, concise statement that just sets the scientific record straight. So let's pull all this together. What are the key takeaways? First, that old idea of a normal, diverse microbiome for Black women, it's a flawed generalization, period. Second, a healthy microbiome in Nigerian women actually looks a lot like what we see in European women. It's dominated by lactobacillus. Third, and this is a huge lesson for science in general, you can't take findings from one population and just stretch them to represent entire diverse groups. And finally, all of this just hammers home why specific, inclusive research is absolutely essential to get accurate health insights. And this leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. This one study corrected a major misconception in its field, so it really makes you wonder, what other scientific facts, built on old data and flawed generalizations, are just out there waiting to be re-examined?